All right, so for macro minerals, we have calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and phosphorus. Now, these ones need to be taken in larger doses than the micro minerals. So, out of these macro minerals, the most common one is sodium, and pretty much everyone is already getting enough of the sodium. The one exception might be if you have a strictly vegan diet. In some cases, you need to add a little more sodium. And then the most commonly undertaken mineral is going to be magnesium. And the reason for that is there's many reasons for that, but one of them is that, well, it's just not as much available in the soil anymore. It's just not as readily available in most diets. So you need to be adding that to your diet typically. Come here. What you doing? Oh. Now for the micro minerals, we have boron, copper, iodine, iron, manganese, molybdenum, selenium, and we have silica, we got vanadium, and zinc. So these ones are micro minerals, which means that these ones have to be taken. They need to be getting into the body, but they don't have to be. They're a much lower dose. So in a moment, we're going to cover all these in depth. But keep in mind, I'm not going to cover everything. And if you want to know more about these, you have to get the book Prescriptions for Nutritional Healing. This book covers all these minerals in more depth, and it's a very good source to look at, especially if you're concerned about interactions, because you should be. If you're actually dosing these minerals rather than just taking them through foods, then you can run into certain issues. So definitely, especially if you're on medications, talk to your doctor about that sort of thing. So last thing I want to mention here real quick is just that when it comes to these minerals, you can also get them in chelated or ornate forms. Now these forms are not typically, they're less known, because when you go to a vitamin or mineral store, you go to a health food store, you'll see the minerals there, but they won't be in these types of forms. But these forms have actually been proven in some cases to be more effective, or you are more easily absorbed, I should say. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these types of things. It's something to consider. It's not something that everyone looks at, but considering we're looking at mastering health, I really think that everyone should know about it. So keep in mind that there are some interactions with these minerals, and some of them, depending on what you take, will deplete other minerals or help absorb other minerals. So I'm going to cover that a little bit, but you're going to need to do a little bit more research. The easiest source will be that Prescription for Nutritional Healing book. All right, so starting off with calcium here, we've got it regulates your heartbeat, it lowers your blood pressure, it regulates your nerve impulses, it adds to protein structures for RNA and DNA, prevents muscle cramps, prevents colon cancer, among a few other things. Keep in mind, the list of the things that each mineral does is actually enormous. So I'm not going to cover all of it for any one particular mineral, but just know that you can get more information if you have the book Prescriptions for Nutritional Healing, or alternatively, just Google a little more on each mineral. So next up we have magnesium, and to be honest, I made a whole video on this and I barely scratched the surface of it. So I'm going to tell you a couple more things about it here. It's necessary to assist enzyme activity. It helps absorb calcium and potassium. And again, if you want to watch a little bit more on it, watch my video on magnesium. So sodium, as I mentioned before, most people get enough of this regularly. The only exception to this typically is if you have like a vegan or vegetarian diet. So what does sodium do? It maintains proper water balance and blood pH. And essentially you can get this in just about every food, so you don't really have to worry about this. A couple uses for potassium is it regulates your nervous system, and it also regulates your heart rhythm. Alright, so last macro or bulk mineral we have here is phosphorus. And phosphorus is responsible for a lot of things. A few of them are proper bone and tooth formation, cell growth, normal heart contractions, kidney function. It helps the body utilize vitamins and convert food into energy. Now, it's important to keep in mind that all the macro minerals, and especially calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus, these all need to be balanced, okay? And these all contribute to proper body function. If you get too much calcium, for example, you can lead to heart disease. Or if you get too much magnesium, that's typically not a thing, but if that happened, then you need more calcium. All right, so now we're moving on to the micro minerals. So the function of boron is it regulates calcium uptake, and deficiencies of this are extremely rare, so you don't have to worry too much about this one. So next up is copper. And copper has many functions. Some of them are aiding in the formation of bone, hemoglobin, and red blood cells. And it works to balance zinc and vitamin C to form elastin. Copper also assists in healing, energy production, skin and hair coloring, and taste sensitivity. So then we have iodine. and only very trace amounts of iodine are needed. It's important for physical and mental development, and this is a very important mineral in assisting your thyroid gland. Iron is important for function of the hemoglobin and oxygenation of red blood cells. This mineral is needed for many enzymes and is important for growth in children and resistance to diseases. Iron is also required for energy production and a healthy immune system. Now, when you get good amounts of vitamin C, it also improves iron absorption by as much as 30%. Hydrochloric acid must also be in the stomach for iron to be absorbed. Copper, manganese, molybdenum, vitamin A, and the B complex vitamins are also needed for complete absorption. So next we have manganese. Trace amounts are used for protein and fat metabolism, nerves, and blood sugar regulation. It is used for energy production and necessary for normal bone growth and reproduction. It's also needed for utilization of niacin, B1, and E. When taken with the B complex, an overall feeling of well-being is generally reported. The seventh mineral, molybdenum, is needed in extremely small amounts, and it's needed for nitrogen metabolism, allowing the body to use nitrogen. It helps the final stages of converting purines to uric acid, and it promotes normal cell function. Moving on now to selenium. This is a vital antioxidant that works well with vitamin E. It protects the immune system from free radicals. Selenium and vitamin E also act synergistically, aiding in the production of antibodies and maintaining a healthy heart. This trace mineral is also needed in pancreatic function and tissue elasticity. Next up is silicon or silica. This is needed in bone and connective tissue collagen formation. It's also needed for healthy hair, nails, skin, and calcium absorption. And it's vital in the maintenance of flexible arteries. This mineral also plays a significant role in preventing cardiovascular disease. Another interesting thing to note here is that silica also counteracts the effects of aluminum. Now, boron, calcium, magnesium, manganese, and potassium helps effectively utilize this mineral. Vanadium is vital for formation of bones and teeth and is needed for cellular metabolism. Vanadium also inhibits cholesterol synthesis and is an important part of growth and reproduction. So lastly, we have zinc. This is an important mineral for prostate gland function and allows the reproductive organs to grow. It's necessary for collagen formation, protein synthesis, and immune system function. This mineral also helps you heal wounds, and it affects the speed of which you taste and smell things, while also protecting the liver from damage. Sufficient zinc is used to sustain proper concentrations of vitamin E in the blood. Now, if you're serious about watching this video and you really want to help your health, you're definitely want to get out a pen and paper or a phone, somewhere to write something down for the next part of this video. Now, the next part of this video is just going to show you some food sources where you can get each one of these minerals. Alright, so some calcium-rich foods include kale, broccoli, okra, and almonds. Even the plant-based sources of this have a problem. The dairy sources of this, the problem with the dairy sources is that you can't absorb it as well. But then, even when it comes to the plant-based sources, these foods have all oxalic acid, okay? And the problem is that actually oxalic acid interferes with the absorption of calcium. So whatever source you're getting it from, it's not getting the amounts that's actually recommended. The best thing to probably do here would be to supplement. So magnesium next has a similar issue actually, but it's a bit different of a problem. So the soil in our ground today is producing vegetation with drastically reduced, vitamin and mineral content. So unfortunately, especially for minerals like magnesium, they're just not getting enough. So I really, again here, this is probably the best mineral to supplement. But as promised, here are some of the foods: avocados, nuts, legumes, and dark chocolate. So if you're planning to supplement all of these, then that's definitely a valid solution. But the bare minimum that I'd recommend probably to most people is supplementing calcium, magnesium, maybe potassium, because potassium seems to have the recommended intake is extremely high compared to what is really possible from foods, which is kind of strange. But anyway, the last one I would definitely consider supplementing is phosphorus, just because it's good to balance out the bulk minerals. Now, something I have to mention here, if you're supplementing anything, and even vitamins and minerals, things we really need, you have to beware of interactions, okay? So if you're taking heart medicines, you shouldn't be supplementing the vitamins and the minerals I just mentioned. Also, if you have any other medications, if you're taking these types of things, you have to be extra cautious. If you have any conditions, you have to be extra cautious. So keep that in mind and do your own research before you don't just take this advice blindly, okay? But if you have good health and you're trying to make it better, or if these minerals can help the health in the way that's beneficial to you, then that's when you want to do this. But just be careful and talk to your doctor if you have to, and I just wanted to make you aware of that. Alright, so sodium's in pretty much everything, with some exceptions, so I'm just going to leave this one out. Potassium, avocados, spinach, coconut, water, bananas. Phosphorus, seeds, especially sunflower, salmon, almonds, and other nuts. So that does it for the bulk minerals, so now we'll move back into the micro minerals. Some great sources of boron are raisins, avocado, and Brazil nuts. For chromium, we have broccoli, barley, and oats. For copper, we have dark chocolate, sunflower seeds, and lentils. For iodine, we have a lot of sea veggies here. So, kelp, I can't say these names very well, arami, and hiziliki. I'm not even going to bother. The best non-food source, best non-seafood sources of these is cranberries. For iron, we have spirulina, lentils, dark chocolate, and spinach. For manganese, we have oats, quinoa, barley, and brown rice. For molybdenum, we've got lentils, beans, black, pinto, and garbanzo, dried peas, oats or barley. Selenium, we've got Brazil nuts, spinach, and so this is another one of those minerals that's very common in many meat sources, but it's kind of hard to get from plant-based. So another good option to supplement if you're on a vegan or vegetarian diet. With silica, we've got bananas, green beans, and carrots. This is another mineral that seems to be missing from the soil nowadays. This is another good supplement. Vanadium, we've got corn, buckwheat, garlic, apples, oils like olive oil. And lastly, we've got the good old zinc, pumpkin and squash seeds, cashews, and cocoa powder. Cocoa powder, yes. Something that finally tastes good, right? Oh wait, that's only when it's mixed with things. Well, hey, the same is true with all the foods, right? So if these videos are informative to you, please subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. Let me know what else you want me to discuss. I'm not just going to be discussing health. I'm going to be switching topics to business pretty soon. So that'll probably be the next topic. But also, I'm going to make a video on lucid dreaming just because someone recommended it. That's all for today. All right. Cheers.